No.
All right, welcome everybody to the Town of McCandless Council meeting for July 22nd, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Again, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A few announcements for this evening. People's Volunteer Fire Company received a grant award from Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation Board of Directors. The request for 2 MSA RIT kits, including freight up to $150. That grant was valued at $12,550. So kudos for the fire department there. Reminder: National Night Out will take place on August 6th, and Community Day will take place on September 14th. Are there any other announcements from council? Mr. Wall.
Yeah, I'd like to pay tribute to somebody that's been a public servant in the town of McCandless for 45 years that we lost this past week. On Thursday, Ralph Pagone Sr. passed away. And he had spent 45 years in dedicated service, not only to Peebles and to Highland Fire Company, but to the McCandless Franklin Park Ambulance Authority as one of the first EMTs. He actually started the Manchester Emergency Rescue Squad before the city of Pittsburgh had their own squad. I know that you'll join me in a moment of silence for this great man who has given so much to the communities in which he's lived. Thank you.
Any other announcements from anyone else on the council? At this time, we will provide agenda item for public comment. If you have any comment on agenda items, please come forward, state your name and address. You'll be provided up to 5 minutes.
So my name is Ellen Wright, 9635 Old Coomer Road, Allison Park, PA 15101. I'm curious why for number 7 in the agenda, there's no report from the town manager in the materials. My second concern is item number 10A, the motion for the zoning ordinance. From the materials in the June 24th Town Council meeting, provided the staff report from RJ Susko, June 19th. It states that the Planning Commission unanimously did not recommend changing the zoning code. The motion says that now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the Town Council of the town of McCandless following review and recommendation by the Town Planning Commission. That's not accurate as portrayed by the report from June 19th, but the Planning Commission unanimously did not recommend it. And the ordinance says that the Planning Commission did recommend it. So that's my other concern. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any others? Pending none, at this time, the meeting minutes for Town Council's July 8th meeting were previously sent.
I so moved to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This brings us into our reports of committees. At this time, we'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Casey for the report of administration and finance.
Okay. Ms. Greathouse.
Good evening, council. You have in front of you the check listing for June in the amount of almost $4 million. The majority of that is in CIP because of the majority of the completion of the road program, as well as the retrofit of the Blazer culvert. If you have any other questions, I am happy to address them at this time.
I do.
Yes, sir.
You have a balloon clown that you paid I was looking at the checklist.
Mike, the balloon guy.
Uh,
Sorry, you threw me for a minute. Go ahead.
Doesn't personally have a balloon clown.
the date on the service is 8/6/23, not
Yes, sir.
24.
It was just then it would just be a typo.
Okay,
It's for the National Night Out on 8/6.
yeah, I just wanted to
Yep.
check.
Thank you.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to approve checklisting number 6 dated June 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2024, totaling $3,390,463.64 as submitted to each member of council and posted on the bulletin board and town website.
Second.
Thank you, Trish.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, now can we review the financial dashboard?
The next item is the June financial dashboard and financial report. You can see here, consistent with what we just discussed for the check listing, that the expenditures for 2024 at this time are slightly higher than last year, and that is due to the transfer for the general fund to cover the Blazer Culvert invoices. And that was as designed in the CIP budget for 2024. If you have any other questions, revenues are consistent with prior year, and I can answer any questions you have. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
you, Ms. Greathouse. Emma, we have the communications report.
It was in your packet. If there's any questions, I'm sure Mr. Daly could help as well.
Okay. Junior council report. Carson?
July, nor do we have any meetings to share.
Okay, great. Thank you. So that's a first. Liaison reports.
Mr. Harlow is in Milwaukee. He asked me to take over. There's no meeting.
Okay. North Hills Chamber.
North Hills Council of Governments, we had our meeting last week. Salt's always a topic we talk about every time. You'll see the report in the packet. The only thing that I questioned is the stormwater. They have a stormwater meeting upcoming with the Army Corps. When there's more detail there, I'll provide it back to council at that time.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any public comment on administration or finance committee items? No, then we will turn it over to Mr. Wall to act on Mr. Arlo's behalf.
Planning and zoning committee, staff reports. RJ, your planning director's report.
Well, the actual planning director's report is very short because we didn't have a meeting. And that's typically the feature of the report is what we did at the planning commission meeting. But the Rachel Carson Eco Village chose to take another month to continue to revise their plans, which we do have now and are reviewing for the August meeting. So we canceled the July meeting. I do have a staff report that will apply to the conditional use agenda item later on. Don't know if you all would rather that I hold that discussion until now. Okay, hang on.
Hold that till then, please.
Cool.
Thank
I will do that.
Thank you. Liaison reports, planning commission. I think you've already heard.
Yeah.
The zoning hearing board, Ms. Clunin.
Thank you. The May minutes are in your packet and there will be a meeting this coming Wednesday. No new items, but a continuance of last month.
Are there any public comments on planning and zoning committee items? That being said, I turn it over to Mr. Giorgetti.
Report of the Recreation Committee Liaison Reports, Finance Development and Promotional Committee for the Heritage and Cultural Center, Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Nick. We had a meeting of the Finance and Development and Promotion Committee for the Heritage Cultural Center. We also had a new board member interview that I endorse. So the primary business was to try to get everybody on track for whatever fundraisers we're gonna have. And also, wanted to mention that the new board member that we did interview happens to be the daughter of Joseph Bullock. And so we do recommend her. She was very interesting to talk to. There was also a very good talk from the Native American speaker last week also. And that's all I have to report.
Awesome. Activities Advisory Ad Hoc Committee, Ms. Clooney.
Thank you. There was no meeting, but our next meeting will be July 29th. And I do want to compliment Ms. Costick on all of her efforts in getting things together for Community Day so well. She did supply a report to your packet and everything's moving along as it should, and I'm very impressed so far.
Great to hear. Is there any public comment on Recreation Committee items? Hearing none, I'll turn it over to Mr. Daly.
Thank you very much. This is the manager's report.
This is your time.
Wonderful. Sorry for the manager's report not making the packet. It was a late entry and we'll be happy to put that up on line for everyone to see that report. I do apologize for that, but the report that we'll be providing, some of the changes that we've made to it are in red in keeping up with the existing projects that are going on there. The majority of our time's really been spent working on, working through some personnel updates and upgrades with in Public Works, working through Parks and Rec. Having Abby has been a great addition, and she's been very active within the working on community days and also reviewing the RFPs that have been received for the master parks plan. So we expect to have a recommendation for council to be made here shortly on those RFPs that we've received, and with her input as well as REA will be providing some feedback on those proposals as well. It did include just really some construction updates that are in your packets as well. Some things that Public Works has been working through, and there's several meetings this week that are coming up that are related to stormwater activities that have been going on. Other than that, we've been fairly busy. Chris and I have been alternating days here in the office and made ourselves available to staff and council as needed. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any.
I wanted to say I really appreciate your responsiveness. As you know, I've had many questions over the course of the last few weeks, and I appreciate you getting back to me in a timely fashion.
Thank you.
The engineer's report is in your packet. If you have any questions, Kelly is here this evening for any of those. Pending no questions, the town attorney's report is also in your packet, but I will let Anna speak to it.
Well, my name is Spiel, as usual. Thank you for having me, and Solicitor Corbell's absent. There is a report in your packets. If you have questions, I would be happy to answer them in executive session.
All right, there is no old business to tend to, so we will start on new business. The first up is dealing with an ordinance. Do we need to tee this up at all, RJ, for this?
I mean, I guess I'll just say, as we know, we had the public hearing. Prior, I have received no contact from anyone, yea or nay, since, so no further public comments.
So at this time, this has been around everywhere. If somebody would like to put forth a motion,
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Casey.
I would like to make a motion to approve tentatively identified ordinance number 1549, an ordinance which would amend the Town Code of Ordinances, Part 13 zoning ordinance to revise section 1303.180 and table 1303.E principal uses, services uses to add and amend regulations for tattoo/piercing parlors within the town.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. Is there any further discussion? At this time, please indicate, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, is another one that's been kind of floating around. It's the Legacy Life, the conditional use on it.
I'll make the motion.
Hold on one second.
Sorry.
You want to make sure that numbers.
Yes, so sorry to interrupt the flow here. I just wanted to make sure that we all took a look at the recommended conditions that were from the planning commission that were also incorporated into the staff report. So if for any reason anyone does not want to pass it with one of these recommended conditions, we should discuss that now and potentially incorporate that into the motion. But if everyone is okay with it as written, proceed with the motion as written. So these are the three things that we had mentioned at one of my prior monthly reports. One being to update the vehicle loading space that was shown on the site plan to make sure that it complies with our SALDO or subdivision and land development ordinance. The applicant had no issue with that. We just need to see a new plan before we give them the green light, assuming that that was adopted as a condition. The planning commission also recommended that either the second floor of the existing building or the equivalent area of that, which is 1,922 square feet, would be the limits of this warehousing distribution business, that they would need to come back for an approval, an additional amended approval, if they were to want to expand that. And shipping hours be limited from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Again, the applicant had no issue with that. They said they basically do FedEx shipping hours anyway, which fits within that window. So I don't see a reason to not recommend passing these conditions, but I just wanted to make sure we, put that on the
I
radar.
have a
before we-
question on the second condition.
Yes.
How are you gonna enforce it?
So typically, and this assumes that people pull the permits that they're supposed to, right? But typically when a business expands into either a separate area of a building or, the occupancy changes depending on what else it is that they're actually doing in there, they should be coming in for a new certificate of use. Like the other 2 floors of the building are probably permitted as office right now. If they wanted to convert any of that area into, into part of this distribution business, then they should be getting basically a use change, which is a $100 permit, which we check and see if the uses
Okay.
are permitted.
That's not what I asked. I asked, what is the enforcement? How do you enforce it? Do you
Oh.
inspect?
Yeah, so I mean, somebody would have to notify us that that changed, or we would have to become aware of it in one way or another. I suppose if they're very secretive about how much they're shipping out, that might be tough, but we would send a zoning compliance notice if we became aware that the business expanded
Okay,
inappropriately.
so you're just working on the honor system. But once they come out of here with a contingency use, that they're gonna comply.
That is more or less how compliance works for all zoning issues.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the update on those items.
Yep.
Thank you.
Let me know if you have any other questions.
So we do need a motion one way or another here. Somebody's willing to make that.
I would just note that if you do make the motion as written and you do intend to have any of the conditions that were just articulated in RJ's memo, that I would
Yeah,
express that in
yeah.
the motion.
I think it should say with the conditions. Oh.
It's not put out in our actual thing.
I would just add, if that is how the council proposes to move forward, that you just note that
With
you
the
would.
conditions in the staff report dated July 18th, 2024.
There you
Yes.
go. That's exactly what it is.
Who wants to tangle with this one?
Do it. Okay, a motion to approve a conditional use application filed by Legacy Life Distribution seeking approval for a packing and creating warehousing and storage business, warehouse/distribution use category, MC District at 9,000 Perry Highway, Pittsburgh, PA 15237, with the conditional uses or the
Staff report dated July 18th.
based upon the staff report dated July 18th, 2024.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up are some committee appointments. I will turn those over basically to the liaisons to those. If you want to go down through those, the Environmental Advisory Committee, Mr. Giorgetti.
Awesome. Our first motion is to appoint Joanna Cameron to the Environmental Advisory Committee for a term to expire August 31st, 2028.
There's a motion. Is there a
Second.
second? There's a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Next one, motion to appoint Jeff Petro to the Environmental Advisory Committee for a term to expire August 31st, 2028.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Casey, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to appoint Mark Wanzak to the Environmental Advisory Committee for a term to expire August 31st, 2028.
There's a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Lastly, motion to appoint Melissa Winston to the Environmental Advisory Committee for a term to expire August 31st, 2028.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Just real quick, there is a process for all of these. They've been interviewed typically by the liaison chair, the chair of that committee. They've been recorded and provided to all of council. So we have reviewed these. And it comes with a memo with recommendation. I just want everybody to be aware, we have seen these names, we have seen these interviews. That's a little bit.
And all 4 of them were great. They will all bring a unique set of skills that will add something to a committee that is already great, make it even better.
Wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to appoint Rita Martin to the Personnel Board for a term to expire August 31st, 2027.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Next is Harold and Carter.
Oh, motion to appoint Betty Bender to the Heritage and Cultural Center Financial Development and Promotional Committee for a term to expire on December 31st, 2024.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. At this time, if there's anyone in the audience who has non-agenda comment items, this is the time for that. Please come forward, state your name and address. You'll be given up to 5 minutes for any of the non-agenda comments.
Road, Allison Park, 15101. I'm curious who the interim town manager for McCandless is. The June 24th minutes list interim town manager Chris Lochner as a participant, while the agenda states Jason Daly. I'm curious why the interim town manager wasn't introduced during the June 24th meeting. And what's the process for selecting an interim town manager? Thank you.
For your comments. Are there any other comments from the public? Then at this time, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Or a second? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Jason, you better